Joining now is economic strategist Francis Stacy. Francis, obviously President Trump not too happy about Canada's approach with this ad. We were actually talking about the ad last week with Katie McFarland, and she said, listen, she said, that was only part of the ad. The part was left out where Ronald Reagan actually did speak about tariffs being a good thing. Do you think President Trump's doing the right thing here?
Well, first of all, nice to see you guys again. Provoking Trump is just dumb, dumb, dumb. Like, I don't know who thinks that's a good idea, right? He's going to take that bait and hit back every time. I don't think, the argument about, what they did with the video and they misconstrued some of the order and some of the context and all of that. I think the better argument is this. In 1987, the trade deficit, the total trade deficit was $159 billion. In 2014, which prompted Trump's actions around Liberation Day, the trade deficit was $918 billion. Let's get into present time. What would Ronald Reagan say about a $918 billion trade deficit for the United States and how it affects the United States workers, how the outsourced manufacturing has affected our middle class, how our lower 60% is living paycheck to paycheck? That's really the argument to make. And just to say, hey, guys, Reagan was great. This is amazing. Let's get into present time.
Francis, I want to do this. I want to bring up Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He was defending the ad while speaking to reporters earlier this month than when the ad was first debuted in the American markets here. I want to bring it up.
That ad, it's not a nasty ad. It's actually just very factual, and coming from a person like Ronald Reagan, every Republican is going to identify that voice. Maybe the younger Republicans can't remember, but he was just the best president the country's ever seen, in my opinion.
Francis, I would argue that America is by far and away Canada's biggest client. We import more from them than any other country by a long shot. I think they're worried. They're going to be on the losing end of this.
Bob, that is actually the perfect point. So if you consider all trade with the U.S., it's about 2/3 of the Canadian economy. It's about 67%. And if you consider their exports into the U.S. alone, that's 17.8% of their GDP. So again, provoking Trump is just dumb, dumb, dumb. It's just so unworkable. And anyway, Ronald Reagan would not be very happy with our middle class today. Also, there are larger cycles for those who follow Ray Dalio, whom I think is amazing. There are larger cycles at play, and we are at a different place in the economic cycles now with our deficits and our debts than we were back in 1987. And what Trump is really trying to do is take the quintessential calculation for GDP, lower government spending as a product of growth, and then raise the net trade and the tariff revenue. And that's what he's trying to do so he can keep growth high while he gets our debt to GDP spending and deficit to GDP spending down to a responsible rate so that we can preserve the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. And that's what he's really trying to do. And Reagan is not commenting on any of that in that ad. And in that way, it is misleading.
Yeah, that's right. Quickly before we go, Francis, do you think that President Trump and Prime Minister Carney will make up and try to have some renegotiations? They seem to have a decent meeting when Carney was here at the White House.
Yeah, based on Bob's comments, Carney has no choice. It's too big. They're trying to replace these other trade deals and do trade with other countries. And all countries are scrambling to do that to try and replace the U.S. They just can't do it overnight any more than we can bring our manufacturing base in overnight. These things don't happen overnight. So he has no choice, and they will make up. And the moral of the story is don't provoke Trump.
Yeah, or cut a deal. As we saw last week, Stellantis announcing they're moving out of Canada some production into the United States. The tariffs are having an impact, positive for the United States, negative towards Canada. Maybe they can make a deal soon. We'll see. Francis Stacy, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
All right, and coming up.